What's up, friends? Welcome to SPDM TV. My name is Mike, part of the SPDM crew, and I watch a lot of TV. We talk about various TV topics, reviews, and general appreciation of TV, past and new. You can follow me on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Serialized at MLHT2452 to see what all I'm watching. So, way back when, and by way back when, I mean a couple of years ago, it's not like it's that long. I used to write for a website where they gave me the opportunity to podcast. And what I did was that I'm taking a look at some of these episodes that I did before and looking to see if I can kind of introduce them to a new audience. So I am going to do a series where I release some of those episodes just so that I can showcase just some of the past work that I've done. Today I have a guest. Please welcome Nick. Nick, how's it going?
Hi. It's going well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Greatly appreciate it. Why don't we start with plugs? Like, where can the people find you, and what have you got going on?
Well, I am on. I'm still on Twitter. I haven't quite made the jump to Threads. The app is sitting on my phone, waiting to be explored, but haven't pulled that trigger yet. But I'm on Twitter at Jagged2319. I'm also on Letterboxd at Jagged2319, or you can search my name, Nick Ferro. And I am a contributing writer for Sif Pop, and you can find some of my articles there. I just did The Flash back in June, and I've got Haunted Mansion coming up at the end of the month.
Flash, huh? That must have been a fun time for you.
It actually wasn't that bad. I am like one of those. I'm like a Flash. I guess I'm a Flash apologist because I went in expecting it to be the biggest dumpster fire ever to be fired. And I was like, oh, that was a well put together movie that only made a few errors in my estimation. And I had fun. Like, it wasn't a slog. I didn't hate my time spent.
Well, and I think for movies, those are two things that I love the most about movies, is that something that you go into with low expectations and then you're pleasantly surprised. And then also at the same time, you kind of wonder what movie everyone else was watching that made everybody
Right.
hate it so much. I don't know.
No, I don't think in this case, I don't think that. I get it. Like, if I can understand if you went into The Flash and came out going, what did they do? But like at this point, I've seen enough comic book movies, and I've like all throughout the 90s, all I did was walk out of a comic book movie going, what did they do? That was the worst. Like, I am one of those weird people who thinks the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy is actually not that great. It's only okay and has great moments. But like, I think too many people expand those moments into the whole trilogy as though it was a masterpiece of cinema. And it's just like, so when I came into the late aughts, early, what are we calling the teens now?
The teens,
like,
yeah.
The superhero game just elevated so greatly, and now it's the same thing. With the DCEU, it just has been so terrible to see a movie to come out of a movie not just like kicking the ground, going, "What happened?" It was so refreshing. So like, I have to give it credit where it's due.
What a great bar for the DCEU movies. What happened there? And anything above that, we're good to go. But you're absolutely right, though, unfortunately, for most of the DC movies. And hot take on the Spider-Man, the Raimi Spider-Man, but I do, upon some rewatching, yeah, I think we tend to overinflate the significance of those Raimi Spider-Man movies. They were great for when they were, but now,
don't get me wrong, that Doc Ock fight scene from the bank and all of the CGI, like for 2002, that is a masterpiece of cinema. Watching him film those action scenes and watching that stuff, I understand why people love them. But like, it's everything else in between. I just don't get it. Like, it's just like, oh, I don't like this.
Fair. I will give you that. And as somebody who deeply loves the X-Men and I'm waiting for a decent crop of X-Men movies eventually in the MCU, maybe. Yeah, I do. Okay, I gotcha there. Well, that'll be for a separate conversation for another time. So we are talking about The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which
I thought you said this was a superhero.
Oh no,
it's a Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It's a superhero, right?
I've I've already derailed the conversation once because this is my second try doing this because I said the wrong intro. So,
No, you're good. You're good.
well, what better way to do this with another round three for this? So, but yes, we're talking about the marvelous Mrs. Maisel for a couple reasons. One, I posted something on Facebook asking people for just some if anybody was interested in talking TV. And Nick, you were among one of the ones who wanted to talk about the marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and I'm so glad that you did for a couple reasons. One, the marvelous Mrs. Maisel, it's kind of gotten put under it's kind of under the weeds right now, simply because their final season ended around the same time that Barry, Succession, and Ted Lasso, that's right, Ted Lasso, all ended, all heavy hitters, and then you have the marvelous Mrs. Maisel that ended too, and just it kind of just went no notoriety, no big articles, anything like that, kind of just faded away, and that's too bad. So I want to talk about this, and I'm so happy that you agreed to talk about it with me, so thank you for that. But
Yeah, I couldn't wait to talk about this show. And you're right. I haven't seen anybody talking about Mrs. Maisel, and I think I too am part of the problem that a lot of people they it came and it went, and I think a lot of people like me went, I'll catch it when it's all done, like each week, because the show started out they dropped the entire season in a day, and then it was in season 4 that they started breaking them up. So I think a lot of people just did the whole I'm going to wait until it's done thing and then forgot about it, because that is the nature of streaming. By the time something's over, everyone's moving on to the next thing, and then you're right, it got completely buried by those other shows being over as well.
yeah, which is interesting because Amazon, I'm kind of wishing that Amazon would pick a strategy here, because you're either going to drop everything all at once, or you're going to, just go week to week. And yes, I get it. There's some shows that you could just comfortably drop, all at once, no problem. Netflix has the same issue where they just kind of drop everything all at once. And some of them they go week to week with their more prominent shows. Do you have an opinion about that, or it just kind of depends on the show?
It really does. And it's a risky strategy. You never know. Like, you could be the talk of the town for 6 to 8 to 10 weeks. Like, remember WandaVision?
Yeah.
That show just did so well. And each week, the internet was a buzz with conversation for the first 2 months of 2020 or 2021.
I thought it was 20.
It's the before times. Right. So for whatever was going on in the rest of the world, it was the one bit of respite we had, the one bit of joy that we could cling to. And for 2 months straight, that was all we talked about every week. So to get into that cultural consciousness like that is a special thing. So I understand why a lot of these streamers are now going to this weekly model. But then on the reverse side, another Marvel show that you've got right now, watching Secret Invasion. I really think it's another one of those things. Just, you should have dropped it all at once or done it in 2 parts, 2 weeks. Don't make me wait, because now I'm on week 4 going, all right, get to the point now, because I'm getting a little tired of this, like stopping my movie midway through and then waiting a week to finish it. Like, it's a double-edged sword. You either really luck out and win, or you just completely get bowled over by negative or people just not caring enough to tune in after a while. So
that's very true. And I had this kind of similar conversation with Robert when I first started at Sif Pop. Was that one of the shows that I wanted to review was the Jack Reacher show on Amazon.
Oh, that was really good.
That was pretty good. I volunteered to review it, and by the time I got around to it, because it came out beginning of February, and then I finally finished it 3rd week in February. I was like, is it okay if I still review this? And he was like, no one's talking about this now. And that's fair. I couldn't blame him for saying that, but I'm like, okay, that's fine. No big deal. And it just sucks because I feel like Jack Reacher was one of those shows that, or it's just called Reacher. Sorry, Amazon, my mistake. But
poor marketing.
Well, when you're contending with the Jack Reacher movies as well with Tom Cruise, and then just pivoting completely in a different direction from, what it was from the movies, but a little bit closer to the books. Like good for you for trying to do that. But yeah, just it dropped all at once, and then you just barely heard a peep out of it. And here it is, like 3 years later, or 2 years later. No, 3 years later. Yeah, I can add, I promise. We still don't have a season two of that.
I
So
know, right?
it's it's kind of, I like, no,
It's
not even
wild.
a trailer, not even a, just release date, anything like that. And now that we have the Writers Guild strike, and now we have the Actors Guild on strike. Okay, who knows if that's gonna be
People
anything
keep
that.
saying it, and I'm kind of on the agreement wagon. I'm fairly certain a lot of these streamers are going to be gone in the next 5 years. It's just they're going to start to collapse one after another because between not being able to market their shows, not being able to keep their shows in the consciousness, not licensing them to other people so that they can make some money off of it, and then not even putting them out on DVD anymore so that they have that additional revenue stream. Like reeling it back into Maisel, as soon as season 5 ended, I immediately went online and was like, I don't know how long I'm going to be keeping Amazon Prime for. I always want to see this show though, but I'm not keeping Amazon Prime for one television show. Let me
Right.
see if I can buy it on DVD, and it's not available anywhere unless I go like to an overseas like bootleg copy, and
Which is
that's disappointing.
which is weird. You think that Amazon, of all places, Amazon would want multiple revenue streams for that. So okay, that's an interesting strategy, Amazon.
It's
But
strange. None of these shows are on DVD anymore. It's like they think that if we keep it from physical media, then you have to stay subscribed. And I don't think they realize that. Yeah, but is my $15 a month really enough to keep you in business? Like
right.
and I think they're starting to realize no. The answer is no. Like they've got people at Paramount Plus like screaming and they're like running around the flaming building. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? So it's going to be interesting these next few years. See what happens with all these streaming services. I just hope that this stuff doesn't disappear forever because it's just easier to write it off and not
Yeah.
pay the anybody residuals than to actually put it out.
I hate that about streaming services. I got rid of all my physical media a couple years ago, and yeah, I know. It broke my heart to do that because I had a glorious movie collection
Oh,
and TV show collection as well. But it was time because all I was doing was streaming. I had one kid at the time. Now I have two, and we ran into a situation recently where physical media would have come in handy. Our Comcast internet went out because
oh,
I'm thinking that the guys who mow the lawn in our subdivision, they just kind of went through the
oh no.
cable line. So we have been without internet for almost 2 weeks.
Oh
And
no.
there
With
is
two
not
kids, that's not good.
there is nothing that has caused more panic in my house up until this point than having no internet for the last 2 weeks. But we we still had a Blu-ray player collecting dust downstairs, so we went to the library and we got some Blu-rays. And my 6-year-old, when we installed the Blu-ray player, she's like, "What do I do now? I've failed
Right.
you. I have failed you as a parent, and especially as
I
a
have
parent who
failed you, Anakin.
you underestimate my power." But yeah, that was an interesting time, and not only that, new episodes of Bluey just dropped
I
on
know, they're
Disney
so
Plus.
good.
They're so good, and we've had to like come up with like a makeshift solution for now. So it's hard time for the internet to go down. But again, another notch, another win for physical media as definitely a thing. And these streaming services are eventually going to have to realize that
Yeah.
if they're going to have to stay in the game, they got to come up with other means of revenue besides like tacking an ad at like the bottom of all these TV shows. And just physical media is definitely going to be a thing, continue to be a thing, while these streaming services, we're due in for a contraction, and we've already had some contraction with Discovery Plus and HBO Max combining to Max, which is a stupid name, streaming service.
So dumb.
And then you even have Showtime being combined with
With Paramount, yeah.
Paramount with Paramount Plus. It's only a matter of time before before Disney Plus and Hulu just combine, because it doesn't make sense to have two. And I'm hoping that Hulu survives, strangely, from.
My hope is that Hulu and Disney Plus do what Paramount and Showtime do. You don't have to pay anything. Well, you have to pay something. They increased it a little bit, but like
Not,
I
not
like
that
currently
much,
I'm
yeah.
paying for the year. I have a year subscription to Paramount Plus because I got a super deal for like half off the whole
Yeah.
year.
I
And
did I did the
I
same
got
thing.
the email and it was like, your next billing cycle, it's going to increase by this much. And I'm just like, no, it won't, because I'm going to cancel it next year. But I'm hoping Disney Plus and Hulu do the same thing, where it's just like all of the Hulu content still exists. It's just on Disney Plus now. Just get rid of that second app. There's no need for it.
Well, I would assume that Hulu would be the one to survive, simply because they also have the live streaming or the live TV portion.
They do, but I mean, why not just integrate that into Disney Plus? And now you've made Disney Plus so much more valuable.
There you go. That's the pitch. Disney Plus Plus. That's what it's
Plus
going to be called.
Disney Plus Plus. So good lord. Then they're all going to start adding pluses onto their.
I mean, it's only a matter of time. Everybody is just adding a plus to whatever they have, as if that's the only thing that's going to differentiating them.
It'll be Disney Plus Max.
Oh, you heard it here, everybody. Nick predicts Disney Plus Max, which
well, no, that'll have actually. I take it back. That's what'll happen when Disney inevitably buys Discovery, and they have Disney Plus and Max, and then they'll call it Disney Plus Max.
There we go.
And they'll get the Goofy movie, Max from the Goofy movie, to be the big
mascot for all of this.
Like Disney Genie's got Genie, and now it's Disney Plus Max. Yuck.
Do you work for Disney? Because that sounds like a very
no, but Disney, you give me a call. I've got lots of ideas like this.
Perfect.
That one was free.
The next ones are going to cost you, because Bob Iger is so concerned about shelling out more money to writers and actors and everything like that. He doesn't get it, even though he makes $25 million annually plus all that stuff. So I think you can afford it, Iger. Come on, lock it up. Anyways, so let's get back to the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. So Nick, when did you first start watching the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
I was late to the party. I had first heard about it. I was watching an episode of Screen Junkies, and they were talking about it on there, and like they were describing it. And I'm like, this sounds amazing. I would love to watch this show, but I didn't have Prime at the time, so I was like, all right, fine, whatever. When I get it, if I get it, first thing I watch, and it sure was. So we got it. Some kind of deal, and as soon as I figured out how to download the app, I was watching the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel season 1, and it just happened to be right around the time season 2 was launching. So I pretty much binged season 1 and 2 back to back, and just immediately fell in love with the show. Like when it ended, oh no, what? So at first time, oh no,
you're kind of cutting out a little bit. Okay, we're good now.
Okay,
I'll just edit that part out. No worries about that. So
okay,
cool. So I'm also late to the party. It
told me the recording had stopped, so I was afraid.
No, you're all good. So for me, I was super late to the party. I didn't start until like season 4. So
oh wow,
that's kind of an awkward time to start the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, because it's past the awards prestige that it had in the first couple of seasons, and it kind of enters an awkward time where you're starting to wonder where this show is going, because how much more disappointment could...
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because that's what I thought too.
How much more disappointment can Midge Maisel endure, and where's this going? This is ultimately where it's getting, and it finally got there with season 5, but did it need 5 seasons to finally get to where it needed to go? Obviously, Amazon thought so, and it's still good. It's still quality TV, but dare I say, it's a little past its prime. And then rounding out into this final season, you kind of wonder, you kind of knew where this was going from this point. It's like, she's either got to get famous, or this journey, was it really worth talking about or worth it? I'd say yes, because I enjoyed. Let's just get into it with the 5th season. So what'd you think of this 5th season?
I thought the 5th season was a complete return to form. I loved it. Every single episode had something exciting about it. It was new, but also it really at this point that we knew these characters well, and so they weren't afraid to go out on a limb and do just random things. Like they take the time with Abe going to the kids' school and like spending a day at the school, and I love that episode so much because it's so funny, but it never lost where it was going the entire season. And that's what I didn't like about 3 and 4. Like towards the end of 3 and then most of 4, it felt like it was in this holding pattern. And there was definitely a what are we doing here? And there's a part of me that chalks up 4 to the pandemic because I'm sure they had to work around that heavily. But I was just so glad to see that not only did they take 5 in a really good direction with the time jumps and not, they said this is the last season, so we're going to show it, we're going to finish it out, you're going to be satisfied with this ending, and I couldn't have been more satisfied. Like this is probably one of the best season finales ever. Like
Yeah.
it's up there on my mountain. I loved it.
So I should have prefaced this when we first started talking about this. This is a full spoiler talk. So because for a couple reasons. One, it's been almost 2 months since this has ended. And more importantly, yeah, we're just gonna talk spoilers around this. And I'm so glad that you said that about the season or the series finale, rather, because I talked a little bit about this on Sif Pop because I wrote the piece about the fifth season of the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And I kind of went out on a limb and I said, the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, out of all 4 of the shows that ended, which I don't like doing this, ranking them because they were all great to some extent or another. The one that I'm probably going to rewatch the most and the one that just got me on the most visceral and emotional level was the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel because everything just leading up to her big set and just everything about it, from the tension that was created from like, hey, she's finally going to do this, and then it's like, nope, we're this is just going to be like a quick interview about some of the lady writer on the show and everything like that, which
Oh my
you know
god,
how
I was like, what is going to happen? Because I
I
was
was
heartbroken at that moment.
I was very nervous that was what it was going to be, and then the moment that Midge just looks at that microphone and was like, she's like, I got an idea. I got to do it. And that conversation that her and Susie have before she just goes for it. I love that conversation so much. And just ending it with just, the signature tits up and everything like that. And just how Susie, just a casual reminder, it's like, no one wanted you to get on stage when you originally started doing this, so what's stopping you now? And that just sets the stage. It just like I'm just getting chills just thinking about it.
I
Just
just was about to say
that's
that you're giving me goosebumps just thinking about it because you're absolutely right. That moment was the moment. And then to see her go on stage and perform and do well, it was almost like the complete inverse of the pilot where she gets up on stage and it turns into a total nightmare. Like she does well, but it's nothing. It's you would never think that that's where she got her start.
right.
And even though the episodes previously show her that it's very clear she went on to become a huge star, but like in that moment during the finale, you're still going, is it going to be okay? Is
Mhm.
she going to be okay? Even though you know already. And the Paladinos, they get me, man. I just love how they can really just strike that chord and pull out that emotion from you and just want all the best for these characters and still be concerned for them as though they're your friends and as though you know them. It's wonderful.
It was so good. I like her jokes landed. The fact that like her entire family was there too, and just the journey for Abe and Rose just to get to the studio
Mm-hmm.
as well was hilarious. Just watching
Loved
them
it.
just struggle to get there, and
And
even
Moishan Shirley.
oh my god, just backseat, just complaining and just like I just loved it so much. I even love that Joel was there too, which
Yeah.
a small part of me thought that Midge and Joel would finally just that would be the end game, and
Oh, really?
it didn't turn out that way because I don't know, like I was not one of those people who thought that Midge and Lenny was going to be the end game. Like
I agree. That would have been weird. That would have been too weird for me.
and
I like Joel, but I also didn't want her to end up with Joel. I actually love how she didn't end up with anyone. And she
yeah,
did have relationships. She did get married or almost married a few times. And I love how it really just speaks to her character and to just the empowering part of being a woman in this industry that every time she walks into a room, they go, "Is she the singer?" And she doesn't, she's no, she's the comedian. She
yeah,
doesn't look funny. Well, like that, and that's such a running theme throughout that for her to just remain like strong and independent and to do what she wants to do regardless of this man's world. I mean, the one episode is it's a man's, so I
yeah.
just it just goes right along with the theme of the show, and for her to end up with one of them or somebody, I would have been really disappointed with that route. And
Yeah.
I mean, looking at their past work, they don't typically like letting their strong female protagonists end up like shackled to a guy just
Yeah.
cause. So
Well,
I
and
really enjoyed that.
because at first I did think like towards the middle of the season that's where it was going to end up, but then also when you find out like kind of what happens with Joel and Midge, like in the kind of just in the background, it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
with him
okay,
going to
like
prison for her.
yeah, that sounds like something that would mysteriously happen with Joel, I guess. So
I really like how they really did make this whole series with Joel. He never stopped trying to make it up to her. He
yeah,
said right at the beginning that he would do his best to make amends for what he did. And he knew that he probably hoped that maybe one day they could, but like I think he knew
well,
deep down that it was over and
yeah,
that as long as he did his best to try and make amends, he could keep her in his life as the
yeah,
consolation.
hmm,
And I'm just and that was another bit of that like that bittersweet moment. Like you see him, he's so happy for her on stage, but also at the same time, he still is so in love with her. You just know that
you can just
like
tell,
he
yeah.
is like there is no one else for her. He'll go to jail for her. He'll do whatever it takes to make sure that she is a success because he wants nothing but the best for her.
And like another person where you know that she just wants the best for Midge, just the look that Susie
Right.
gives Midge after that, like she's on the verge of tears. She's just like that one got me good, especially considering in the couple of episodes before that, you kind of know like what happened
The
between
roast.
them. The roast, which was I kind of listed that as one of my favorite episodes of
I
TV this
think it's
season.
one of my favorites of the entire series. Definitely, it's so well done. The between the cameo actors that show up in it, the way that the story is told, how not only does it pay off a an issue that you didn't even really see coming because you like it, they bicker, sure, but like you never would have expected that it would do a time jump midway through the season and they haven't spoken in years and you're like, "What?"
Yeah,
And then just the way they you learn about it all. And then they also pay off her and David Paymer's character and their relationship. Like it was Susie's episode. And so Midge not being in it made all the sense in the world. But at the same time, Midge not being in it was the emotional gut punch that just when she says at the end in her video speech to her, like, we should get, like, I was a puddle on the floor. I
yeah.
just, oh my God, that episode was brilliant.
It was so good because you're secretly waiting, waiting for Midge to either show up or there be something there
Mm-hmm.
so that they could make amends. Even though, like I that it is something about the time jump that like kind of sucks when you have a limited amount of time
Yeah.
with the show like this is that
I want to see more of what happened, but they give you just enough to know, like, okay, here's the details, here's what happened, here's the fallout, and we're good. We don't need a whole lot of filler in between. We don't need a whole lot of, like, if this show would have continued, we would have gotten a couple episodes where they kind of just would be split apart, and then they'd just be talking about, like, I wonder if Susie's doing okay. I wonder how Midge
Yeah.
is doing right now. That's we didn't need that.
Yeah,
Or
and they
anything.
already did that in season 2 or 3 when the two of them are just when Susie goes to work for Sophie Lennon.
Oh yeah.
They have a huge falling out and they bicker back and forth constantly. Eventually they make up and like that's their relationship. So like when it gets to the point where they say in that episode that they haven't spoken in years, it's like, oh my God, like they're really going there. And it could have been a cheat. Like
Yeah.
like they could have totally fumbled the ball and it would have fallen flat. It wouldn't have at all worked. But just the strength of this writing, the strength of these actors, and the two of them together throughout the entire series built to that moment where they can allow themselves to cheat a little. And if you're in, then you're in. Like
Yeah.
you're all in. It's wonderful, these two.
And it even pays off because you mentioned kind of just the payoff from that roast episode of just like learning about everything that's going on between Susie and Midge, and just the making up that they have at the end, and that gets paid off in the last moments of the final episode where they do a
They're
time
watching
jump to
Jeopardy
like
together.
I loved that so much. They're both super successful. They're back to being friends, and instead of them, just getting drinks at a place, they're just on the phone talking to each other. I love that so much. Even though there's a small part of me who probably would have much rather had the exclamation point on the show being that final set. I was happy that that was the last thing that we got to see. Just the two
That
of
little
them just
coda
being together.
was the exactly what we needed to ease ourselves out. Like the set on the Tonight Show would have been a wonderful ending. It would have left me ultimately
Wondering.
unfulfilled
Yeah.
because you're wondering, and some shows can pull off that wonder. Some shows they can leave you with that and leave you to the spinning top of Inception. Like, what does it mean? Some shows you absolutely want to see where they ended up, what happened. Like these are two characters that I in my notes I'm writing like all the things that I wish I could have seen. Like that's how wonderful they were. I want to see all the movies that Midge was in because
Yeah.
she obviously became a world-class comedian, like the likes of Steve Martin or Martin Short. Like she's doing movies in the 80s. What zany comedy
Right.
was Midge Maisel in? Like I can only imagine what type of stand-up specials did she do? What were her takes on the 80s and the 70s and the 90s and the 2000s? Like give her a hacks type show where she has a comeback. Like I want
Oh,
to see
that would be
more of her. Like I love her so much. I want to see everything her entire life did. Maybe they'll write a fake memoir where you can actually then find out what was her life like, because she's that rich of a character. I just wanted to know more.
I could see down the road Amazon doing either a spin-off of this or like a mini series of this. Just, they've
Little
left
mini
it
revival.
a mini revival, or just even like a Amazon movie.
I feel
Just
like the
something.
Gilmore Girls did the that little reboot with the four movie length episodes or whatever they were,
Yeah.
and that was really good. And I still really hope they bring out another one because I'd love to see more.
Yeah, yeah. So, and you're right. It is a testament to the writing, the performances. Like, start like with our lead, Rachel. I'm horrible with names. So
Rachel Brosnahan,
there we go. Our future Lois Lane as well.
future Lois
So
Lane. I was so thrilled
I
to
was
hear that they picked her.
I
She's
was
the only
pumped.
choice for me.
I was pumped about that, and considering that from where I originally saw her from in House of Cards, and she was fantastic in House of Cards.
I completely forgot she was in that.
Because she's not like a main character, but she's like a vital character in House of Cards, and just her story is just so incredibly tragic with just how it ends and everything like that in House of Cards, and to see her just not only have the sheer amount of range from what she was in House of Cards to this, wow. I'm very happy with the success that she's had. She's obviously gotten recognized a lot for this role. I think this is I sincerely hope that this will be her like one of her most remembered roles, but I certainly hope that it's not going to be the peak of where she's going to be moving forward.
Oh, I agree. I really hope that more bigger and better. My only concern with her being Lois Lane is the potential typecasting, because everybody, when you think Lois Lane, you think of that 60s mentality because of the original Superman, and because that's usually how they try and portray Superman. I think Man of Steel was really the only one that kind of gave Lois Lane more of that modern feel. So
Yeah.
I hope they don't typecast her and like, she's a Mrs. Maisel type. Like I want to see her do more, because I really know she has it in her to do the whole range, and just she could be one of our greatest stars in the next 10-15 years.
Well, and I think my only other concern as well is that I hope that Lois Lane doesn't just I really hope that like Marvel kind of had a little bit of this issue where it just felt like the only thing that these actors were doing were Marvel movies.
Oh yeah.
And even for DC to some extent or another with some of these people, minus maybe Henry Cavill, who got to do Mission Impossible, I guess, and then got to
The
come
Witcher.
back. You can't forget about that, and
Yeah.
then to tease him to come back to the DCEU and then not. But yeah, anyways, I just don't want
To
the
be
DC.
pigeonholed in these superhero movies
Yeah,
now.
I don't want her to just only do this. I want just to continue to see her in a diverse and diverse grouping of different movies and TV shows that she's just gonna knock it out.
Yeah, I agree. She's fantastic. Which and I want to segue, because you can't talk Maisel without Susie, and just now it's my turn to have complete brain fart on her name. Alex Thane. Yeah.
Borstein, yep.
She's just so amazingly wonderful. I love her in just everything about her spunk. She's got this comedy special on Amazon too.
Oh,
And
really?
just like, she's so funny. And I actually just learned recently she was supposed to be Sookie in Gilmore Girls, but
Really?
because of another show, she was contractually stuck. She couldn't get in there. So they had her appear as the harp player in the first couple episodes. And she's like just all the way back then, and voice of Lois on Family Guy. She's just so funny and so talented. I really hope that we see more of her in either roles like this or anything else, because just like I want to say this is her probably her best role and her best performance, because just she's wonderful in it. And the two of them together, I hope they do more stuff together.
These two together are just so electric, and
They
it's so great. And I think one of the things that I loved about this season, and kind of just I guess just about the whole show in general, is just the parallel that their stories have to one another, both Midge and Susie, about both struggling to make it in their respective fields, both not being taken seriously as women during this time, both just hustling and just doing whatever it takes in order to be successful. And the roast episode I loved for a variety of reasons, but I think the thing that I loved the most about the roast episode is that Susie made it.
Yeah.
Susie just the notoriety she gets from all like the clientele that she managed, and just being known as this like super agent and super manager and things like that. I love that, and I just love seeing that, and just the notoriety and respect that she got, even though all those comics were like kind of afraid of her as well,
Yeah,
because
they were.
they just know
And
that like
the story, the made up the story. Oh, did you hear? She killed him and took all of his clients. Like,
right. I
killed the daughter-in-law.
that was I love that episode so much, but just I love that they gave Susie, just this great standalone episode for her, kind of like what you talked about before. And I just love just hearing all the things, all the things that they kind of just filled in the gaps and just show that, like, yeah, like Midge made it, but Susie made it as well. And
Yeah.
to some extent or another, Susie kind of made it without Midge too, which
Yeah.
Midge is an important part of Susie's, rise to prominence, obviously, but to know that even after they're falling out, that Susie continued to, just kick ass and make it. I was so happy about that, because I would hate it if Midge and Susie had this big falling out and Susie would just go to rock bottom. I think that would
Yeah.
be so
That would have
disingenuous.
been awful.
And I'm just so glad that they continued this upward trajectory for both of them. I was just
And they played it so well too, because you weren't sure. Because just in what I think it was the episode previous, she was fighting with her only other client about taking that movie role, and
right.
you could see like she was willing to go to a men's bathhouse
Right.
to get him this role, but then she was also fighting to make sure that he took the right position, and she was being a little selfish at a point, but like you could see like she is still learning. She's also now learning she has to be different with her clients. She can't be the same with Midge as she is with everyone else. And so like
Exactly.
there's so much growth there, and so like then to see the jump forward, and it's just like, all right, she made it. Awesome. I think the only thing I wasn't sure on was her secretary. Like, did her secretary make it? I think she did. I might have
Mhm.
missed it, but like I loved her too, and I was like, this little pod that they have with Susie Myerson and Associates is just, it's such a fun like group of people, and these actors come together, and just the writing is just so whip smart and fast, and they all pull it off so wonderfully. It's just, I can't stop gushing about the show because I loved it so much. And yeah, I mean, you said it before that this was probably the best of the those 4 season finales. I agree with you. I think if anything, this was the one show that stayed true to its mission statement. I think that I didn't see Succession, but I think Barry and Ted Lasso both fell off from what they initially had set out to do. I think Barry got too dark and lost the comedy element of itself too much. And I think Ted Lasso was starting to go in a direction that was interesting and new, and then in the finale reverted back to season 1 episode 1 of Ted Lasso, which I loved, but I also don't believe at all for a minute that that's the series finale. So
Yeah.
it's like it almost feels like a cheat, because it's like they were kind of doing both. They were trying to make it a series finale but also a season finale, because we might come back under a new name next year. So I think Maisel was the one that really nailed home. And just as I said, it's like the perfect inverse of the pilot episode. It started with her on a stage, and it ended with her on a stage. And then the rest of the show being the coda that mirrors the coda at the end. It's not just about the stage, it's about her life. And
Mhm.
it ends with her and Susie on the phone, popping in the VHS tape, push and play at the same time, and just it's about their life and their life together. And I loved it. It just
I was just about to ask you, like, what are you going to remember about the show the most? And you kind of just already said it. So it's like
it's
you're reading my mind. So it's all
it's we're going to the Catskills. That's what I'm
there.
gonna remember the most.
When I first started watching the show, because I binged most of like seasons 1, 2, and 3, I was like a little confused about that Catskills storyline. But looking back at it, I that Catskills storyline mattered in a lot more ways than I think I give it credit for. And looking back now that the show is over, I appreciate that storyline so much. And it's it's just one of those things where not every show can pull off what this show does, which tells a great story about a wonderful character, a partnership with, it's the story of Hollywood, in general, and just not just Hollywood, just show business in general, about just the struggle that so many people have to go through. And just it's a great underdog story. It's a great story about the hustle that, the extra hustle that unfortunately women have to go through. Like setting this in the 50s and 60s was perfect, because it's just there's an extra layer of difficulty that you have to go through for women, unfortunately, during this time. And it just makes her success all the more better when you're watching it at the end. It's like, because the sheer amount of struggle that she goes through so many great moments, only to be kicked down not too long after that, with just heartbreak after heartbreak. And granted, some of these heartbreaks are because she couldn't keep her mouth shut, or she couldn't control herself. And, that sucks, but it also, she learns from all of that as well. And that's something that, just seeing the progression from, just she just ends up, just taking care of everything, and going from there. I just love that about that. Well, Nick, with that being said, the last thing that we'll talk about is, give me, this can either be from the final season, or this could be kind of throughout the course of the show. Give me some of your top moments or favorite episodes from
There's
the
so
Marvelous.
many.
Yeah, absolutely.
I absolutely love running jokes, and the runner of she's a singer, or
Yeah.
she's or Susie being mistaken for a man
Oh yes,
constantly.
I
Like
love that.
like every run of the gamut, young man, little boy, that's sort of thing. Like they nail her every time. It's so funny. I just rewatched the Catskills Mountain episode, so she's walking around with a plunger.
Oh,
Just
I love that. I thought that
and
was
then
so
that
fun.
weird guy who's just like, I know you don't work here. I mean, she's like, who the hell are you? Get out of here. Just her snark is so great. But then like Tony Shalhoub, oh, he's just so wonderful. He is like the perfect neurotic person, but also like very meticulous and quiet, but like he has such big opinions, and
Mhm.
he's so ridiculous at times. I love him.
I love Tony Shalhoub in this so much. Just a role tailor made for
Mm-hmm.
a performer just like him, and just kind of the evolution that Abe goes through throughout the course of the show. Like, I could not believe that to start off season 2, we're going to Paris, and
Right.
getting Rose back. Like, this is gonna sound kind of crappy, but just go with me on this. I didn't think Rose had the guts to actually go to Paris. And I'm glad that she did, because this kind of helped, like, kind of recalibrate Abe a little bit, and
Yeah,
just be
it
like,
did.
hey, Abe, like, you need to start paying attention, to stop being such a jerk about stuff. And I love just some of the things that, like, Rose was saying. It's like, you don't pay attention, and so many examples of that leading up to that. Just that conversation is just like, he didn't he not hearing anything about, she's going to Paris, like, not
She's in
believing her or
Paris.
anything like that. I just I think one of the things that I appreciate about this show so much is just, it's, if you're somebody that pays attention to things, the jokes just become so much funnier as
They
well.
are. They're so deep. I mean, after you've watched it 3 or 4 times, because it takes that many times to understand what they're saying because they talk so fast.
Oh yeah.
But I absolutely cannot believe how incredibly funny her stand-up routines are.
Oh,
Like
I know.
it it blows me away that they I mean they don't obviously do like a tight five every time, but like they'll toss her up on stage for like here and there, just little moments, and she'll get to talk for like a solid 3 minutes, and it's almost always gold. And I cannot believe how consistent they were with that. Like
Mhm.
she had a style, she had a flair, she had a ton of like recurring jokes or types of jokes. And of course, whenever she then elevates like stories from the episodes we're watching, it really works. I love was one of the last episodes of the first season when it opens up when her just refining her bits, like
Mhm.
telling the story about her parents. She walked in on her parents having getting finishing up having sex by
Yep.
pushing the beds apart. and how the joke starts out as only okay and then evolves into just a rip-roaring hilarious joke. And the show has the ability to tell you that joke over and over and over again, and every time she improves on it, it gets better and better, and you laugh every time, even though you know the punchline every time, and even though she may tweak a bit of the punchline, it's so clever, and just the way that she performs the material as well as the material itself is just it's so funny, and I can't imagine how they came up with all of that and were just
Oh,
so
I know.
consistent throughout.
I know. And the I think the thing that resonated the most with what you just said is just the craft of stand-up comedy. Because I've known people who have tried to break into stand-up comedy, and they tell me how insanely difficult it is because
Yeah.
it is just you on stage. And you have to come up with material that, obviously is funny. That's the point. That's the point. But at the same time, you have to find a way to connect with the audience, and you have to figure out a way to bounce back when something doesn't work. And we've seen plenty of times when Midge says something that doesn't work, and she has to find a way to bounce back. And
Yeah.
that's something, just that's a testament to not only her performance, but the character itself, just how she always figures out a way to bounce back. And sure, we see plenty of times where it's just like, yeah, just not my night. And that's okay, because, you know, not every performance is going to be a home run. But, if to equate it to baseball terms, like most of her shows are home runs, if not triples, because
Right.
they've always got something going on it. And because we see so much of her life, just you're just rooting for her extra more because you just want her to succeed. And like one of my favorite moments is when she worked that telethon, and
Yes.
you weren't sure she was going to get on because Sophie Lennon was there. And when she gets on and she knocks it out of the park during
She
that
makes the most of
performance,
her time.
and just that's a consistent theme throughout the course of the show. It's like, hey, make the most of the opportunities that you do get. And you know that was one that I was so ecstatic because she was so excited to possibly get on the set, and to know that like Sophie Lennon was there kind of messing with her a little
Yeah.
bit. And then for the set that she does kind of just makeshift get from that moment, I was just so ecstatic for her at that time. Like I get it, she's not real, but like I'm invested at this point, and I
Yeah,
just
and
want
that's
her.
that's the magic of the show. You are invested in this imaginary person who didn't actually exist all the way back in the 50s and 60s.
Yep.
But like it's just they know how to twist it. But then they also do the thing on the reverse side where she is her own worst enemy throughout the show, and that is the theme of it. She is constantly shooting herself in the foot. And I know that a lot of that is, because you have to, she can't always be on top of the world, but the show also does it in a way that it's not just, you know, paint by numbers a television show. It needs to have ups and downs. It really is learning experiences for her, and it's a character flaw that she has. Sometimes that character flaw gets her on the Tonight Show and a huge star. Sometimes she says the wrong thing about Sophie Lennon and it just like tanks her ability to get work. Like she has that mouth of hers. It's both, a godsend and a curse.
Yep, yep, absolutely. And I think the thing that I'm going to love, that I love and miss, I'm going to miss about this show the most, is just the fearlessness that Midge Maisel has, capped off with, I think, one of my favorite lines of television in a long time in her final stand-up set, when she says, "Being a coward is only cute in The Wizard of Oz." Like
Right.
that line is going to stick with me for a long time, because number one, it's true. Because it's the perfect way to encapsulate what it means to go after your dreams with just something that's so timeless like The Wizard of Oz, and just saying how, like, yeah, like the lead up to that as well, just talking about like, I don't just want to be someone who just like looks at opportunity and just be like, okay, I'm just not going to take this one, just
Mhm.
she's going to go for it. And when she said that, I was like, oh, what a great line. And then the punchline of the joke where she remembers her kids' names.
Oh my
Oh,
God,
what
that was
that
the
was that was
perfect
perfect.
capper.
Perfect way to end that. And just watching that last moment, I'm not gonna lie, I teared up during that moment because it was like
Oh, I was a
you
mess.
you knocked it out of the park. And then when she gets invited to sit on the couch as well, I was like, oh,
Oh, that
oh,
was it.
oh, oh, what a
Everything I've ever wanted for you has finally happened.
yeah. So, Nick, anything else? Any like last thoughts about the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel? Like
I
any
think we'd
any
be
final?
remiss if we didn't mention Kevin Pollak as
Oh,
Moish.
yeah.
He is such a presence throughout this entire show. It is so infuriating to see a character that you love because of how funny he is and how the rapport he has. But when he's in that one episode in the season 5 where he's in Joel's bar and Midge is trying to just do a set on stage and he is just
Just
ruining it for her. Like
not
you are
not going
just
with it. Yeah.
so mad at him because he is being such an ass and you're like, dude, just let her do it. And like in season 3, he does it at the dinner table when she tells them, "I'm a stand-up comedian." He goes, "Tell me a joke. Let's hear a joke." That
Yeah.
wasn't a very funny joke. Maybe you should
No.
be better at joke. Do you sing? Maybe you should sing. I love him so much because he is a good character when he does that thing for Joel where he says like, "I'm firing you, but I owe you some money, and here's all the money that I owe you over the years. Go be your own man." Like he's such a good character, a good person at heart, but he's such a son of a bitch
Yeah.
sometimes, and
Oh yeah.
he plays both sides of that coin so well. And then him and I don't know the actress's name, the one who plays his wife Shirley. They have such a rapport together. And I don't know if it was the finale or the episode before, like when they fell in the bath and they're like they laid in the shower for hours talking. They're
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, that's the only way these two would do it.
I thought, yeah, I thought that was I loved that part. And just all the crap talking that they talk about with getting divorced and everything like that. We're done, we're separating and all that stuff. And that's how they end up salvaging
Yep.
salvaging their marriage. Caroline Aaron is Shirley, the person who plays Shirley's name. And I think the last thing that I'll kind of leave with, like I love a lot of the relationships in the show. That's something that I'm gonna miss. Kind of just like one last final thing that I liked were just some of like the heartbreaking talks between Midge and Joel when
Yeah.
all starting with like Joel admitting to Midge like we're done because I'm I'm cheating on you and all that stuff. That conversation capped off with when Joel figures out that, Midge is doing stand-up comedy kind of at his expense as well. The phone call that they have when she's in Paris and she's talking to him about stuff. Just for them to those are some of the low moments of the show, but then when you get to the high moment when just Joel looks so proud of her when she does that stand-up set, and it's just you're rooting for them to just be content with each other, because I was talking about earlier how I thought that that was gonna be the end game, but just for them to just have that moment where he just looks so proud of her and she's just so appreciative that he's just even there, you
It
know.
was it was amazing that episode where he did find out and he walks in, she's doing the set, and the set is about him. And then that guy starts catcalling her and telling her she sucks, and he follows him out there and beats the crap out of him and says she's good.
Yeah.
She's really good. And it's like you see it right there because that was he was going there to get on stage because he thought that was what he should be doing, and he finds out that she's like all in one short scene. He shows betrayal, like he was betrayed wholeheartedly. He was completely embarrassed by what she was talking about him, and then he was enraged, and he finally came to the conclusion that like this isn't for him. He's seen what greatness looks like in Midge, and he knows that he could never have done what she did, and that like you said right then and there, he is like in her corner and behind her, and he has her back from then on. And just I love how the character only gets better from there. Like he's such a great character, and another one I don't know the name. He is a fantastic actor in this role as well.
Michael Egan. I'll figure that out soon. But I'm going to miss all of these characters. I'm going to miss all these performances as well. I'm hoping that this will find, now that it's over, I hope that more people will find it and remember it, particularly for seasons 1, 2, and 5 in particular, which were some of the best TV that you could ask for at the time.
Absolutely.
With the Sorkin-esque dialogue and delivery as well. And just how, again, if you pay attention, if you're somebody who is looking for things to pay off from a joke standpoint, or just kind of even from a story standpoint, this is the show for you. So that's something that I'm not sure we're going to get anytime soon. Well, one, because we're in the middle of a writer's strike, but two, I think it's just a very, very special show in that sense that I'm not sure we're going to get again, especially.
I don't know. I wouldn't be so sure. This show, the reason it's funny. I just remembered this when I first started watching it. I had no idea who the writer, director, creator was. And I'm watching it, and I say to my wife as we're watching the end of the finale, I go, "This is so much like Gilmore Girls," and that's a show that I loved. And she started watching it. She got me into it, and I absolutely love the Gilmore Girls. And I'm like, this just feels so much like. And then at the end, Amy Sherman Palladino. I'm like, oh my god,
that's why
it all makes sense. So hey, we got the Gilmore Girls. Maisel is its spiritual successor. Whatever they do next, I know the Palladinos will 100% blow us away. So the Sherman Palladino, they are so clever. They have a talented pool of actors who are in all of their stuff. In the prison, I gotta bring it up. Lorelai's mom, Emily Gilmore, was the lady in the prison with the smokes, and that they got arrested for doing the fire. I died. I'm like, that's Emily Gilmore. It was so funny. And then Milo Ventimiglia. I think that's maybe the one hanging thread that I didn't like. Like they brought him in and then they got rid of him. I'm almost wondering if he was a casualty of the writer's strike, or not the writer's strike, the pandemic, where they were going to do more than 5 seasons. The pandemic happened. They said, let's cap it at 5. And then they quick wrote him a farewell.
A quick and weird send off.
Weird. Yeah, really weird. Like, okay. And then he was never seen again. And I also want to mention the episode where she becomes a pirate. I died. Technically, because we were on international waters and the amount of money lost, it would be an act of piracy. And the dude is just like, this is the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Are we done? Like, she's fine. Let's go. There's so many little moments in the show that just add up. It's just one of the best shows on television. And even seasons 3 and 4, they weren't very focused. At least 3 towards the end and 4 throughout. It was a little scattershot, but like still delivered on some of the most entertaining television. They had moments throughout that, it may not be the best season ever, but it was definitely it had some of my favorite moments throughout the show in it. Right. So they managed to keep it solid pretty much throughout, and it's I keep telling people, like, if you like Gilmore Girls, you should definitely check this out. And right now, Gilmore Girls is like one of the top 10 shows on Netflix, like most watched. So like, hopefully more and more people discover Maisel, and just the second you watch that pilot episode, I can't even imagine anyone not being hooked on the show after that.
The pilot is great. And I certainly hope, because I'm going out on a limb and saying that although I love Ted Lasso, I'm gonna go back and I'm probably gonna rewatch Ted Lasso season 1. This is probably the only show that I'm probably gonna watch all 5 seasons again, probably because Succession, like I love Succession, it's quality TV, but the rewatchability for it for me is not quite there. And very, like you said, skewed a little too far in terms of darkness. But in this year, a lot of like great TV is ending. And I think The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel for me is like one of the only ones so far that I'm like genuinely sad that
Yeah, me too.
that we're done. And there's going to be a lot more shows that are going to be done this year, whether intentionally or planned, or unintentionally or planned.
Yeah.
Or it is what it is. But this is the new age of television that we're going to have to be living in. And
Optimistically, I think this writer's strike won't be as devastating as the one back in the 2008, because realistically, the way shows are written now is so different. I think we might see a few casualties, but I think it's more than likely that most of the stuff just got put on hold, and it'll all continue. Like there aren't a ton of things that I can imagine are going to like suddenly be a completely different show. Like I don't anticipate a Heroes situation.
oh no,
because
no.
shows aren't 24 episodes anymore. Most
No.
shows are only 10 eps anyway, and they're usually in the can before they even go into production. So like we are not going to suddenly see one of our favorite shows stop airing episodes, change the order of their episode release strategy, and make you think that they're suddenly ending on a Princess Bride episode and you're never going to see them again. So like if you understood that reference, we can be friends. But that writer's strike really crippled the industry back then because of the way the industry ran. I think now it's so different that I think for the most part, the only people who are going to be hurt by this are like the cable networks, like your NCISs, but like they're so serialized anyway that it's not going to be too big of a thing. Like they're strong, they're not going anywhere. Like just some of these like more smaller, newer shows that are like 24 episodes long might get hurt.
Yeah, I agree with most of that. I think the writer's strike on top of what we were talking about, this inflection point with streaming, I think I'm not saying it's doom and gloom when it comes to television, because I just think that this is going to be a transition time for television, and I think it's going to be for the better though, because
hopefully.
I think with some streaming contraction and just general attitude differences for some streamers, like hey, maybe we shouldn't focus so much on quantity and maybe focus a little bit more on quality.
Right.
And maybe all of these shows that we pull the plug on for after one season, like some of the shows it's warranted because like like the premise of this, like I see why you greenlit it, but like we didn't need this. But I'm hoping that one of the things that will come about from the quality instead of quantity as well, is that streaming networks give a little bit more support and a little bit more trust with their shows, and they last a little bit longer, instead of like, hey, we're gonna have the show, we'll probably do it for 2 seasons and then that's it. Unless this new era is just, hey, all we're doing is miniseries. That's it. Like all of these are one season, too long for a movie, but not long enough to have multiple seasons. Which
I'm actually hoping we go away from that. One of the best shows on television last year was Strange New Worlds. And the reason it was is because they, for the first time in a long time, I was given an episode, a season of television where I can just right now go watch episode 5 and not be completely lost and not have to start at the beginning and watch all the way up to episode 5 to understand what's going on. I could just pop in 5 and be done. And then maybe next week I'll pop in 8. And like, I miss that. I don't know if it's my old age that I'm just like, I don't have the investment. Like I want to go back and rewatch shows like Barry. Like, but I really feel like I can't, like, because there's just too many episodes. Although Barry is a bad example because they're shorter episodes.
But Succession would be a great example.
Succession. I didn't watch that one. That one was on my brain. I was like, I haven't watched that one. What's it going?
If you were to start watching Succession this most recent season 4, it was 4, and if you were to start watching it there, you would have to go back and watch all of those. And not only are those episodes an hour long, but they're also heavy. They're also so it takes more time because it's more of an emotional investment to just get through those shows. But you're totally right. I do miss stuff like that. It's something that to kind of contrast that, like the Orville, for example. So originally the Orville was like that, and then the final season it wasn't like that because you kind of had it was a little bit more of a connected storyline, which I'm not sure how I felt about that, but I still enjoyed it. But it's one of those things where I couldn't just pop in for this one episode. I'd have to go back and watch some of the previous ones. And I certainly hope that we get more shows like that, because like Abbott Elementary is like that, where there's not so much a connected storyline, but I could just pop in and out and I'll be good. I'll still be good.
The comedies nowadays are still good with that. I just these hour-long dramas that it's like, oh man, I don't have it in me to start a 9-hour movie and just watch a 9-hour movie back to back. Like it's just I can't do that anymore. I need, I want a quick bite, something nice and fun and light. That's why I liked She-Hulk. I really enjoyed She-Hulk for that, because it's like you get in, you get out, and you had some fun. And so I really hope more shows are doing it, or at the very least, be like Hacks. And there's 10 episodes and they're only a half hour long. And sure, it may be a connected story, but they're only a half hour long.
Yeah.
Like it's not too much of a time investment. And Hacks is like one of the best shows on television. It's very well written. It's entertaining. Like you don't need to be prestige drama, hour-long television, 10-episode seasons. Like it's doable. I think we've gotten away from it because people like the serialized stories.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, it is one of the hardest things because my focus right now is writing about TV. And quick aside, the reason why I started shifting towards TV is because at Sif Pop, like we're
your movie friends.
Yeah, you only get so many chances to review some shows. And as someone who was just starting, some of the movies I got, like the first movie I reviewed for Sif Pop was Space Jam 2.
Oh no, I understand that pain. I think my first one was Peter Rabbit 2.
Yeah, and you just like with a lot of organizations, you should just be happy with what you get and go from there. And I noticed pretty early on in my Sif Pop writing is that no one's talking about the TV stuff. So I got more opportunities to talk about TV. And then eventually I was like, I think I'm going to focus on this, even though I came in with the intention of wanting to focus on movies because I love movies.
Well, you opened the door because now I'm the resident Star Trek writer. I do all of the Star Trek shows. I was pushing at Picard season 3 for a spoiler review because I know we don't typically do that. I was like, hey, just so you know, I wrote this whole other full spoiler review in case you wanted to use that too. You can look it over and let me know. And he's like, well, we don't really spoilers. And I was like, all
right. I've pitched a spoiler review on, because there's some shows that I was like, I think a spoiler review would actually be pretty good. And I ended up doing the podcast for Barry and for Ted Lasso, and then Robert did one for Succession. But I don't know, like I think it would be, I don't know, I think sometimes it would be kind of cool.
Sometimes it's necessary. Like I felt like my Picard season 3 review was quite neutered because there's just so many. It's 10 episodes. It is serialized, although I think they did a really good job of breaking it into like 3 chunks, 3 mini stories within a big story. But the kicker to it was at a certain point midway, I had to completely stop talking about stuff because certain characters appearing were considered spoilers. And some of my favorite moments of the show are 100% a spoiler that I didn't want to ruin for anybody who didn't know or hadn't paid attention to it. So it's like some shows you really need to be able to talk freely. I was thinking about broaching the subject of, hey, what if we did episode by episode reviews? I don't think that one's gonna fly, but that would be interesting.
Probably not. It'd be interesting. I'm actually kind of running into that same issue with as we're talking on a TV podcast about a different site. I'm running into this same issue as I'm still kind of putting together my review for Silo season 1
I
because
hear good things about that.
it is very good. Apple certainly knows how to make a great sci-fi series. I will give them props for that. And this one's pretty great. I think I put it at like it's definitely my top 10 of the year so far
Nice.
for TV shows, but it's not like top 5, which here I'm saying like top 10 is nothing, but it's not top 5,
It's no top 5. 6
it's-
through 10 suck.
yeah, all of these are the B team and everything like that. So but yeah, I really liked it, but it's hard to talk about it because some of the most interesting moments are spoilers.
Yeah.
So I feel your pain on that. And as a Star Trek fan, I'm sure, and with Picard, that's its last season, right? So
That's it.
so yeah, that I feel your pain there. So I want to thank Nick. Nick, thanks for coming on this. Greatly appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate the invite.
M. Hill.
That's going to do it for this episode of SPDM TV. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe to anything and everything wherever you get your podcast. Join us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Blue Sky at SPDM Crew. Check out our website. Check out our website at com. Shout out to High Flyer Creative Studios for making our awesome logo. Greatly appreciate their support. And if you have any creative needs, contact them at highflyercreative.com. Check out the other shows on our network. We've got a lot of great content on there, and I'm really proud of the work that everyone's doing. We've got a ton of different things that you could ask for. So check out the other shows on our network. And if you've got a podcast idea or you're interested in being part of the SPDM crew as a guest or collaborating, email us at gmail.com. Until next time, happy watching, friends.